Hey GenderqueerChat, it's Thursday. Hope you're having a great week. This is actually the second time I've recorded this video. I did have a 13-minute masterpiece that for some reason wouldn't upload, and it's 5:30 in the morning and now I'm just freaking out. So I'm just going to record another video, make it a one-take wonder, and upload it just so that there's something there before Thursday becomes Friday. So this week's topic is what is your gender identity? Has your gender or your understanding of your gender identity changed over time? And do you feel that you've got a full grasp on your gender identity at this particular point in your life? So my gender identity, as will probably be the case with several other people on the channel, or perhaps everyone on the channel, we are GenderqueerChat after all, is genderqueer. And genderqueer is a term and an identity and a concept that sits very comfortably and feels like a really good fit for my own personal internal sense of gender. So I don't really identify as male, I don't identify as female. I have learnt to identify and appreciate that I have certain qualities and attributes that society would deem as appropriate for a masculine type person, and I have certain qualities and attributes that society would deem appropriate for a female type person. But I don't actually have this feeling or congruency with an identity which is either male or female. So obviously I don't exist on that binary. I think the underpinning feeling that I've had about my gender identity since a very young age was simply just an absence of feeling male. I didn't understand what it was to be male. I didn't find any attraction or connection to this socially constructed idea of what a masculine person, a man, a macho person should be. And yeah, I just knew from a very early age that that wasn't really for me. Of course, I grew up in a society where we have a binary model of gender. We have males and females, and that's based on that rigid categorization of what genitalia you're born with. And there's not a lot of language or other options or role models there to show that it can be anything else. So I grew up with this feeling that I wasn't really male. I don't know if I thought about it in terms of not being male, but I just knew that I didn't, I guess, feel, yeah, I just didn't feel male. There was just not really anywhere else for me to go. So when I started to really think about gender in a more serious kind of way, and it was a time in my life where it was the right set of circumstances and events that made it okay for me to start to really take that time to think about gender and work out parts of myself and kind of confront those parts of myself, I guess, and really deconstruct my gender and what that meant to me. And at that stage I was confronted with another set of possibilities, which I guess was like looking at transgender identities and things like that. I still very much had my binary way of thinking, so for me it was hard to shift my brain from kind of a traditional or a narrow-minded version of transgender or transsexual kind of thing, so somebody who is born a certain sex and is in the process of transitioning towards the other gender. So I can't quite tell whether I actually felt like I was a girl trapped in a man's body, or if that's just the way that my brain decided to organise those feelings of not associating with male, because when you were stuck in a binary way of thought, there really wasn't any possibilities as far as your mind could see. But when I started looking at trans stuff, I did start to go down thinking about that path of, well, if I'm not this, then I must be this. I must be, a female trapped in a man's body. And what does that mean to me? What does that mean for my identity? Where will I fit in? What will I do? And yeah, it caused a lot of turmoil and anxiety, and was a pretty difficult time. Then I got introduced to the word genderqueer, and at first that didn't quite fit, just because it was such an alien concept, this non-binary, not identifying as male or female. It simultaneously made a hell of a lot of sense, and I felt really attached to it, but I guess my head wasn't ready to get around it. I was still in this binary way of thinking, and it took some time to do that. Eventually, as time's gone on, I started to identify as genderqueer, and the way that I would conceptualise that was being somewhere on a spectrum between male and female, so somewhere maybe kind of feminine of centre. And that's probably the way that I thought about genderqueer for the first, for the good bulk of the time that I was identifying that way. As time's gone on though, I've noticed that I'm starting to disassociate with that. I've actually found myself more able to accept the masculine sides of my personality and my sort of more masculine traits. For some reason I'm more able to accept those things now as part of thinking about gender, which is strange, so maybe I've kind of reconciled that. And at the same time I'm also identifying off the binary, so I no longer really see myself necessarily as a combination of male or female, but just I see myself as me, and I'm just uniquely me, and that may be made up of certain traits that society says are masculine and feminine, but they're really just me, and it's my personality, and that's not something that's changed. It's just that I've been struggling to find the words, and struggling to find the language, and struggling to find the terms that I can use to help identify myself, because the way that I feel and the way that I express myself and the way that I see my gender is slightly is not the way society likes to do it. So yeah, that's the way that I look at it. So my gender hasn't changed, my gender stayed the same, but my understanding of my gender has changed along with my, just as I've learnt new language, learnt new terms, had new experiences, and found more acceptance in myself, and have internalised this term genderqueer, which is now very much synonymous and interchangeable with my own personal version of identity. And yeah, that has changed and evolved over time. Do I think I've got it all answered and sorted out? Probably not. I mean, up until this point, my identity has, or my understanding of my identity has been rapidly changing. I don't believe that I've got it all under control yet. I'm not sure I understand everything or have experienced everything I need to experience, so likely my identity, my understanding of my identity will continue to change. I'll find other terms, other ideas, other concepts, or constantly redefine the terms, concepts, labels that I'm using for myself now. But at this moment in time I feel really comfortable with my identity. I feel like my definition of genderqueer is very much me, and I am very much my definition of genderqueer, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a good place to be in. Kate Bornstein was on Twitter a few months ago rewriting or doing a new edition of the My Gender Workbook, which is a fantastic book, and on that Kate was asking for feedback and suggestions and things that you had to hashtag. One of the questions was, what is your gender? And I think I wrote something like, my gender is an absence of feeling male, a misassumption that I know what it is to be female, and the realisation that it's okay to be neither. And yeah, I think that kind of sums up how I feel about my gender. Cool. Well, you guys have a great week, and see you next week.